The European Union has recently laid out a harsh response to Trump's Liberation Day tariffs announcement.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day.
That response has shaken the very roots of American manufacturing companies. With tariff tensions escalating, 80 years of strategic alliance and trade relations are on the line. The investors are facing a headache. The auto industry, steel, and aluminium industries are feeling the most heat. Basic food and medical supplies are facing shortages. Is this the end of the key strategic alliance? In today's video, we will be diving into details from the fiery response from EU and what this could mean for millions of people worldwide. So stay with us, and if you want to show us your support, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel to keep getting updates. Another round of tariff warfare has already begun. The EU just announced countermeasures to deal with it. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has made it clear that Europe won't just sit back and take the hit. The EU is preparing countermeasures worth up to 26 billion euros.
We are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros.
That includes tariffs on a long list of American exports. Von der Leyen called Trump's move a major blow to the global economy and warned of immense consequences. And she's not exaggerating. We're talking about economic ripple effects that hit everyone from small businesses to multinational giants. While she emphasized the EU's willingness to negotiate, she also said bluntly, Europe is ready to respond. If Trump announces further tariffs, the situation is going to become more critical because this isn't just about protecting steel or auto companies. It's about diplomacy, and it is reshaping the global trade landscape. But what is the real reason that made the EU take such countermeasures? On Liberation Day, Trump unleashed a tariff storm. Standing in the White House Rose Garden, flanked by union workers, he signed an executive order imposing steep reciprocal tariffs on over 180 countries, including the EU, America's oldest ally. Calling the move a declaration of economic independence, Trump slapped a 20% tariff on all imports from the European Union and 25% on foreign-made automobiles. His justification was, they're ripping us off. That's the Trump simple language, hardline stance, and the optics of sticking up for American workers. This was a political move meant to fire up his base and project strength. Trump is also targeting allies like South Korea, Japan, along with many other European countries. He even said, in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe. Those words added fuel to an already blazing fire. With the EU retaliating and global markets on edge, Trump's Liberation Day might end up costing more than it wins. It's economic brinkmanship, and it's unclear how far he's willing to go or how much blowback America is going to take. To have an estimate, let's take a little bit look at the background of trade between the EU and the US. The US and EU have the biggest bilateral trade relationship on the planet. In 2023 alone, trade in goods and services hit 1.6 trillion euros. That's 4.4 billion euros worth of trade every single day crossing the Atlantic. Apart from that, millions of American jobs are tied to this trade. The EU buys US energy, natural gas and oil, and sends back critical goods like medicines, machinery, and aerospace components. In return, US companies sell everything from tech and services to agricultural products and aircraft. Even when there's an imbalance like the 157 billion euro EU surplus in goods, there's a counterweight. The US runs a 109 billion euro surplus in services. Investments between the two are over 5.3 trillion euros. This is not surely some minor spat. It's like watching the heart of the global economy taking real stress from tariffs. That's why both sides are scrambling to manage this fallout before it fractures more than trade. So what happens when one side throws a wrench in the gears? Apart from just diplomacy, it is a systemic risk. Disruptions here affect global supply chains, job markets, and even strategic alliances like NATO. When the EU says it's ready to hit back, these countermeasures are going to be more than the previous 26 billion announcement. The EU has considered hitting a major part of American goods, and the list contains bourbon, motorcycles, agricultural products, leather goods, and even home appliances. In other words, symbols of American culture and industries are tied to key political regions. They're also planning to reintroduce previously suspended tariffs, ones that date back to Trump's first term. This isn't just about steel or aluminum anymore. It's about showing backbone, and von der Leyen made that clear in her speech from Samarkand, warning that Trump's move would trigger more protectionism and shake global confidence. She acknowledges the global trading system has flaws, and even agreed with Trump on the need for reform. And showing a diplomatic approach, she also had stressed that reaching for tariffs first won't fix it, and offered dialogue. But still, there is a possibility that the dialogue might fail, and retaliation to hit mid-April. Allies need to behave like allies, and with every new tariff, the people are suffering with the consequences worldwide. While Trump's tariffs were billed as a move to revive American manufacturing, the immediate fallout tells a more complicated story. Tariffs on imported steel and aluminum are pushing up the cost of raw materials across multiple sectors, and those costs are being passed directly to US manufacturers and ultimately to consumers. In the automotive industry, manufacturers warn of vehicle price increases ranging from $2,500 to $15,000. This doesn't just hit buyers. It also affects sales, production timelines, and the workforce. Home builders are sounding alarms too. The National Association of Home Builders projects significant cost increases for construction, making homes less affordable for average Americans. Appliance makers are also under pressure. Refrigerators, washing machines, and dishwashers are likely to see price spikes as manufacturers adjust to higher input costs. Even consumer electronics, from laptops to smart home devices, may carry a heavier price tag due to their reliance on steel and aluminum parts. In essence, while the policy aims to protect US industry, it may be squeezing the very people it's supposed to help. Rising prices, disrupted supply chains, and market instability threaten to undercut the benefits of America-first manufacturing. Trump's tariffs aren't just shaking up US-EU relations, they're sending shockwaves through global trade. By targeting allies and rivals, the US is setting a precedent that could trigger widespread retaliation. Other major economies, like China, India, and even smaller trading nations, are now rethinking their reliance on US markets. There's growing fear of a fractured trade system where trust is eroded and protectionism replaces cooperation. The countries whose trade and finances are deeply connected to the US and European Union are not just going to sit back and see. International institutions like the WTO are watching their influence fade as countries resort to unilateral action. The longer this escalates, the more likely we are to see long-term realignments, trade blocs forming, and old alliances weakening. What began as a move to protect American workers might end up accelerating the very isolation and instability it sought to prevent. Summing up the details on today's video, Donald Trump's aggressive reciprocal tariffs. The immediate impact on US allies like the EU started fierce backlash from European leaders. The numbers are not good, the impacts are destructive, and it is definitely not so good for the global economy. There should be negotiations, and now is the right time to put a stop to this tariff war. Otherwise, it will keep on causing more damage, not just for the US and EU, but the whole world will feel the impacts. What's your take on the current situation? Do you see these tensions further increasing in the upcoming months? Or the severe impacts force both sides to cool down before it gets too late? You can share your valuable thoughts in the comments, and you can support us by subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching.